Good afternoon, fellow Nigerians. It's yet another wonderful pandemic and lockdown day. I like to say it's wonderful because that kind of puts me in a mindset to do exactly what I have come here to do today. We must navigate this pandemic. We must navigate the lockdowns with a mindset that is positive. Today, we're going to be talking about something that interests and touches all of us across board, regardless your religion, regardless your region, regardless your party affiliation or profession. What I'm going to talk about borders on our national health security. And because it's national health security inclined, it's going to be touching all of us. Before I delve into that, a little introduction for those of you that may just be following me for the first time. I am Aliyu Umar Babangida. A lot of people know me as Captain Blade. I'm a national security solutions and resource aficionado. I am also Chief Executive Officer of Goldwater and Riversands Consults, which is a national security resource and solutions consultancy. We stand in the gap, national security-wise, for the Nigerian citizen. We hold your brief security-wise across so many different aspects of security service options. And whatever we find in our study and our consults, we share with our citizenry, if only to broaden and also leverage the security awareness index levels in Nigeria. So at Goldwater and Riversands, we are national security aficionados, and if you like, we are national security freaks. Today, what I'm going to be talking to you about is, to put it mildly, about vaccines, our legislators, and bills. The last few days, we have had issues with bills that are being passed, or a bill that is being sponsored to be passed that has to do with vaccines. And in the middle or in the center of this is our legislators. There are accusations that some monies have exchanged hands, particularly from a prominent figure, no other than Bill Gates of Microsoft. People wonder why someone who has never been a virologist will suddenly take interest and invest so much in vaccines and viruses. There's been allegations, there's been counter allegations, and it is at this point that I feel at Goldwater and Riversands, we owe Nigerians a quantum of obligation to bring about awareness of the national security posture required from our legislators when they handle matters national health security. So what exactly is the national security posture of our legislators as they delve into this issue of crafting a bill, a vaccination bill, so to say, for our nation? The concerns that have been raised by the coalition of united political parties and some other interested groups may sound like conspiracy theory, but then they cannot be discounted. They cannot be discounted because while the legislators are working for the good of our nation, there are also concerns from people who are also not any less interested in the good of our nation. So at this point, we must be able to look at vaccines for what they are, for what they have become, and for what they could be going forward. And we all know that these vaccines are meant to address certain malaise or certain epidemics or certain kind of illnesses. But then, nanotechnology has made it possible on planet Earth today for vaccines to actually cure a problem and surreptitiously create others. What I'm trying to get at, fellow Nigerians, is simple. If you come from any part of this world where you do not make your own food or make your own drugs, then as far as 2020 Earth and COVID-19 compliant Earth is concerned, you are vulnerable. If you have no control over the drugs you use, somebody has to make them for you. If you do not produce what you eat, then as a people, as an entity, you are vulnerable. Coming to talk about vaccines, we must be able to sit and look circumspectively at the prospects of taking on this vaccine even before it has been invented. To the best of my knowledge, last time I checked, there is no vaccine yet. If we scramble into putting to pen and paper a commitment to take on this vaccine when it is available, then whatever is available when it is available, we would have constrained ourselves into accepting. So, put another way, what is the hurry? What is the vaccine going to entail? What is the vaccine going to look like? Why would we want to sign bills and enter into agreements for tests on a vaccine to be conducted on us even before the vaccine exists? Those are the layman, street corner, perspective mindsets of the average Nigerian. Those are the concerns our senators must put to fore and address before people can be made or compelled to take vaccines for which they know little or nothing, vaccines that are yet to exist. It does not add up. So with my background and my interest in national security in Nigeria, particularly in this case, our national health security, I will tend to advise that if indeed our bill for vaccines is required, then we must go into it circumspectively. Going into it circumspectively simply means we have to do 4 key things. And what are these key things? The first thing we must do as citizens is to ensure we abide by laid down constitutional regulations in every and all matters concerning these vaccines, legislations, and the bills. There are laid down constitutional avenues and processes that have to be followed for or against the vaccine. Let that be the case. The next thing we must do as in number 2 is we should also be mindful of the fact that our lawmakers are responsible to us just as they represent us. And so we should follow the processes closely. Following the processes closely simply means we must be able to know, and this will be a challenge to the media too, we must be able to know down to the individual signatories, endorsers, sponsors of these vaccines or these bills, so that tomorrow, if it doesn't go well, we can call them out. Let us accept here and now that gone are the days in Nigeria where people hold a mandate and tenure, make any kind of decisions they want, some of which are blunderous and plunderous, and go back home after their tenure has expired to live happily ever after. The world has changed from then, And in the now, people who hold office, regardless in or out of office, during or after their tenure, should be able to be called back or called out to answer for decisions they made while they were in office. This is key so that we have people that govern us, people that make decisions, people that churn out bills with a very high sense of responsible leadership, responsible governance, and responsible conduct. Irresponsible political conduct cannot be allowed in sensitive periods like this. So if we take our time to ensure we know those who are involved in these processes by name and individually, if it goes well tomorrow, then we will extol their virtues, sing their glory songs, and put their names in our halls of fame. And if indeed they take irresponsible decisions that consign us to some mental or health slavitude in future, then at our national security posture and awareness levels, we should be able to know them and call them out tomorrow. Ours is replete with a history of decisions taken by persons who are still alive and well, but we have a mentality that seems to say because they've left office, they cannot be called back to account for what they've done. That cannot be possible. That cannot be acceptable where our national health security posture is in question. Our national security agencies, our national intelligence agencies should also be a bit more sensitive to the vulnerabilities of passing a bill pre-existence of a vaccine which supports the administration of the vaccine. We should also be a bit more conscious that nanotechnology on 2020 Earth has already ordained mankind with the ability and capacity to engineer DNA codes, to do a lot at the nano level that can actually affect the well-being or not well-being of mankind in any form. We must be careful to the effect that we do not produce our own drugs, neither do we produce what we eat in the majority. Until we do that, we are vulnerable. We cannot afford to be yes men. We cannot afford to have people from other hemispheres come and tell us when to fall sick, how to fall sick, when to get well, and what to get well with. Until we think inwards, we cannot be masters of our own health security. If people have to design our drugs, if people have to man our nutrition levels, if we have what we consume being fabricated out there and given to us in here, then we cannot but be lab rats or guinea pigs, as the case may be. So to our legislators, I say, you must be every inch circumspect. I do not want to lend any credence to claims of money having exchanged hands. But trust me, being a security practitioner, if I were to profile our political antecedents, if I were to profile our political characteristics, if I were to profile our political ambiences, money is to our political scenario as our political scenarios is to money. And that is not helping the fact that people tend to believe these allegations. So what is the go-between? What is the middle way? What is that national health security posture every Nigerian, one and all, must take so that we do not have people compromising the future of our health. It is as I have said. First and foremost, things must be done constitutionally. Next, we must know everyone who is involved in these processes, not only by designation, but by name. The individual signatories, the individual interest groups, the individual pressure groups, the individual sponsors, we must know them, both private and public, so that tomorrow, if we discover Nigerians have been shortchanged, if we discover Nigerians have been put in the same position our poor innocent forefathers did 300 years ago, where a lot of them were given mirrors and bottles of gin, and they consigned an entire continent to some very exploitative people. Summarily, putting the national health security posture of our legislators vis-a-vis this vaccine bill in perspective, the things we need to do remain straightforward and simple. One, we must follow constitutionally stipulated steps in this process. We are a sovereign nation, we are a sovereign people. Outside influences or inducements should not be allowed to consign us to a future of health servitude. Persons who are involved in this process must also be known, and this is where the media challenge starts. Our media, both audiovisual, print, social media, must follow this process and identify the legislators involved, the interest groups involved, to the individual. We must know names of persons who are driving this process for or against, so that in future, if there are any negative fallouts, our citizens can call certain people out to come and account for what they've done. 3, let us accept something, Nigerians. The days when people occupy public office, at the end of their tenure, they leave office having made certain plunderous or blunderous decisions, only to go home and live happily ever after, is over. Let persons who make decisions be known, so that if their decisions come out proper to the glory of our nation, we can extol them because they are known. Nigeria has no hall of fame because we don't keep records of people who do great things for us while in office. Neither do we also keep records of people who plunder and blunder us while in office. If we begin to know what every individual legislator and executive does, then people will be a bit more politically responsible in public office, because they know that people can call them out post-tenure to answer to questions if things go wrong. The last thing I want to leave us with on this issue of our legislatures' national health security posture, particularly as it concerns vaccines and bills, is we must all be vigilant, and other than being vigilant, we must also look to see accountability. And other than accountability, we must also demand results. Vigilance, accountability, results. VAR. I know Nigerians are football lovers. Anytime you watch football going forward and you see that VAR facility which footballers use, let that be the trigger that reminds you of what? Vigilance, accountability, and results as far as this bill for vaccines is concerned. VAR. From now on, the VAR in football should trigger your minds to remember what we have just shared here, so that going forward, we can track, we can monitor, we can scrutinize the process that consigns us to any health solution now and in future. For health is wealth. And since we do not make that which we consume, neither are we going to make that which this vaccine will entail, then we must be circumspect. Don't forget, VAR. Watch football, see a VAR device, let that trigger your neurons and your mind into a reminder mindset that VAR is vigilance, accountability, and results. I will be doing more on national security issues for the average Nigerian citizen's understanding on this forum. Please press subscribe that you may get tips, reviews, and analysis from time to time on matters national security as they trend with us and affect us. Thank you. Do have a blessed